everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Late Night Brew, where we talk to brews first, and then we get around to the business at some point. I'm Robert Bartonica, and with me on the show tonight, if I could form a coherent sentence, is Peter Cooney to discuss Remo 3 and what all the buzz is about. Pete, welcome, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Buck. Great to be here, mate.
Thank you. So I know tonight is kind of a misnomer because you're morning, but what brew are you having with me?
Well, if you know anything about me, you know I actually love tea, and I'm not a coffee drinker, I'm a tea drinker. And I have today, I'll show you the box because there's not much to see in a mug of tea, but this is a French Earl Grey by T2. And
Ooh.
T2 is a tea company here that makes all sorts of awesome teas. So I have myself a delicious cup of black French Earl Grey.
Sounds delicious. I love a good Earl Grey, so I might have to see if they sell in the U.S.
Mate, if they don't, I'll ship you some.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah, well, I'll do
Uh, tonight I've got Purple Haze of Beta. It's a New Orleans brewery, Louisiana. Raspberry. It's really good.
it.
Usually
Okay.
fruited beers tend to be too sweet. This
Mm.
one happens to sit that line kind of nicely of a enjoyable wheat fruit, but not cloying, not syrupy, that kind
Yeah.
of experience. So, but
Well,
let's
good.
start.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
let's start. Remo 3. There has been a lot of buzz, at least at the time of
Mm.
recording, about Remo 3. So what is Remo 3 and what's it about?
Well, look, it is a good question. Remo 3 is a cloud-based SaaS solution, and it's really built for scale and automation around app modernization and management. So if you're looking to move all your apps because you're changing the platform you're delivering desktops on, maybe you're moving from Citrix or upgrading Citrix, maybe you're looking to adopt Azure Virtual Desktop, or even now today, I think yesterday or a couple of days back, it went GA, which is the Windows 365 solution from Microsoft around the cloud desktop. So you can use it for that, and what it'll do there is it'll assess, you feed it your applications, it'll assess them all for that suitability. And not just will it run, it does an intelligent smoke test, it gives you a performance output report, how much CPU, how much RAM. You can baseline it against where you are today versus where you want to go tomorrow and compare those two platforms. And then it'll also convert these applications automatically to the modern MSIX format. What they'll allow you to do is do something called App Attach, which is pretty crucial for virtual desktop environments, where you can layer apps. So pretty interestingly, what you'll be given at the end is a very thin gold image, very much in line with the Windows as a service model that Microsoft's promoting. And then you layer your apps on top. They actually attach to the user session at logon, and they're
Hmm.
just stored on simple storage. So what you have is a very small, lightweight gold image, and you don't have to unpack that image and update the apps and repackage it and push it to a pool and drain the pool and start a new one just to update an app in your image. You can just layer the app on. So the benefit of Remo is not just that assessment and I guess that migration. It's the modernization of your application fleet.
Interesting. So is it I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this. Is it a add-ons? So it sounds like to me it's a add-on to Citrix AVD where it's running in parallel and creating or attaching that app package, or is it creating a thin enough app that it can just attach on the side natively within that platform?
Yeah, so it sits outside those platforms. You can target Remo against your environment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a VMware instance or a Citrix pool you want to target, or even a physical machine, you essentially put an agent on that machine and you tell Remo, go and execute these tasks against it. Go and install this app, run it, give me the telemetry, and give me all the data back, and I'll do some smarts around the analysis of that. So the beauty is, if you think about it that way, you think, well, I can do physicals as well, and because it's measuring my apps and it's measuring how they interact with the environment and measuring also, I guess, their compatibility, if you like, then you can use it not only for that migration scenario I gave you, right? You can use it for environmental change. So you could actually do your whole application portfolio. What does it look like if I upgrade to the latest version of Windows 10, right? Or Windows 11? So this isn't a discussion around app compatibility, because we generally have that. It's more than that. It's actually the compatibility of your entire environment, the platform you're choosing, the hosting, how it's hosted, the hardware behind it. So it's not just will the app run on the OS, that's probably likely, right? We know application compatibility rates are high. It's more environmental to see what it runs like. I'll give you an example. Exploring Remo with a customer, they said, look, we're going to move from Symantec to CrowdStrike, right, as an AV provider. And what they said was, well, look, we can use Remo 3 to go run all my apps as a baseline against my current setup, which is Symantec AV. I'm going to install CrowdStrike on one of these machines that Remo 3 targets. And then I'm going to run all my apps again and see if there's actually a performance difference. Right, so you could make it an informed decision before swapping your AV vendor, knowing the impact it'll have on your desktops. So you could run that against different types of hardware, different types of environment, and actually get an understanding of that.
So it's really an app delivery solution that gets optimized to VDIs or physicals or what the environment's requiring.
Yeah, it doesn't deliver the apps, but what it'll do is run those apps through a test, but it's real world because it's doing it in your environment.
Right.
So the beauty of it is that you could run these tests as many times as you need. You could run them when there's a monthly patch. You could run them when you've got that OS update. You could run them if you're maybe modernizing your apps into Intune and saying, well, how do will these packages be converted, and can they be converted into that modern MSIX format, which has lots and lots of benefits, which hopefully we might cover in another late night brew. But there's a lot of things it can do and a lot of use cases where it can save you a lot of time and money. And it's about shortening and getting a rapid assessment. If you've ever done app packaging, and it's quite a long process if you've got lots of apps. And as I said at the start, Remo 3 is built for scale. So if you have lots and lots of apps, you need to package them in MSIX format. It's generally quite serial because it's quite labor driven, and you can do one and then the next one and the next one. Well, you could imagine if you targeted Remo at lots of workstations and lots of machines and said run these tasks, that it can go and execute and do these, and it's going to run 24/7, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's working when you're not, and that's where you build a lot of that time back.
The computer never sleeps, I guess.
Oh, that gets into the philosophical of do they dream, but that's not what this is about.
Probably will one day, mate. It's pretty. I was reading an article the other day about the code writing itself, right? It's certainly getting there at a fast pace.
Absolutely, it really is. But that'll be a good future episode of talking about where AI and machine learning is going. With the time we have left, if you've got a good or interesting challenge or use case that Remo 3 has come across that's worth a mention.
Yeah, look, I think it's probably around that environmental change, right? If we look at Australia, we've got an Australian Cybersecurity Centre, which is run by the government, and they have published something called the Essential 8. And it's 8 great steps for mitigating cybersecurity incidents. And number 2 on that is patching your machines or patching your environment. So, a lot of people do patch, but they patch late. They don't necessarily patch on time. Or if they do patch, they might be hesitant. And the reason they're delaying is because they don't understand or can't quantify the impact, right? So they will sometimes deploy to a pilot group and kind of go, did it change? Does it feel different? It's quite anecdotal. So if you used Remo 3 to, patch a machine, chuckle your apps at it, see the performance profile, and actually have an understanding of how that interacts with that new environment or that new change, that patch OS, that update, you'll have a greater comfortability to deploy, and you actually hand on heart know that it'll work. Now, in some environments, these actually have to be certified. Right, so if you make a change to a machine that's involved in medical supply, vaccine development, you've got to certify that machine is true and accurate, and that's something you can do with Remo 3. So that guidance from the Australian Cybersecurity Centre is actually that you patch within 48 hours of a known exploit and a patch that remediates that. And you can imagine with lots of apps and a big environment and complexity, that's quite a hard turnaround. But with Remo 3, you could pretty much go, right, here's the machine that's patched, run through that routine of all the apps that are important and test against those. It's come back, it said everything's fine, the performance is the same, and the apps still operate through its intelligent smoke test, and you're good to go. And nobody has to do anything. You simply patch that machine and tell it to run that task sequence. So it's pretty cool in that respect, really leveraging the power of automation and machine learning to drive that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, that does wrap up our time today for the show. I hope that everyone has enjoyed the Listeners Drink, and thank you again, Peter, for enlightening us to Remo 3.
Thanks for having me, Buck.
Well, as anyone has any questions or feedback, please get in touch. Everything is below. If you got an idea for an episode, we'd love to hear it. Until next time, have a great day or night. Cheers, mate.
See you later.